Hi, it's Jan Peter and I'm going to do something very unusual for this channel, and that is to mod this 90s Samick Strat copy guitar. In case you didn't know, I used to play in bands for since I was a teenager. I'm not claiming to be any good on any instrument. My main instrument always used to be the bass guitar. So I'm not a super good guitarist, not even good. This guitar is a relatively inexpensive Fender Stratocaster copy. This was made by Samick. It's not a completely garbage, super bottom of the line guitar, but it's not very good either. It plays pretty well, it's quite well balanced. The pickups don't sound very good, unfortunately. I still like this a lot. I got this from my sister. This was her first electric guitar. She lent it to me at first, and then it kind of got into my possession over the years because she had no interest in having this. I played this in quite a few bands actually, including some new metal stuff and things like that. I made quite some experiments as a guitarist. Still not good at it, but yeah, I enjoy playing the guitar a lot. And this one I think is worth modding. So this is a Samick SVE 130. R stands for right-handed, I think. It has quite a nice neck with this inlay here, and it has some heft to it, unlike other cheaply made guitars, so I suppose it's made of good woods. There's not a lot of information to be found on these online, unfortunately, but I have the serial number which points to this guitar being made in 1992, which kind of matches the time period when my sister got it. Made in Korea by Samick, who actually, as far as I understand, Samick also produces guitars for Fender under the Squier label, which is kind of the inexpensive Fender guitars that are pretty good actually. I own a Squier as well. And they also make Epiphone guitars, which is a label that Gibson uses to sell their more inexpensive models. So it's not a bad guitar. It has seen some wear and tear, but it's still worth taking a look at this and modding this to my specifications that are useful to me. So over the years some stickers have been added. My sister as well as myself have always been into the more punk side of music, so yeah, there's some stuff on here that is supposedly making this look a bit more punk. There's Casper, the friendly ghost, that my sister put on here actually originally. I put some super punk sticker on here and a K and some kind of, I don't know, gaffer's tape. I don't even know what that means. It's just decoration basically. So as I said, the pickups don't sound very good in this guitar, and I always liked kind of the fat Strat models which have two single coils in the neck and center position and a humbucker in the bridge position. And I'm going to try to put a humbucker in here because I have a spare one from my other guitar that I replaced with a decent DiMarzio SuperDistortion. And I have the original pickup that came from that guitar that I want to put in here. I'm also going to clean this a bit and try to adjust it a bit more properly. It's the strings on here are super old, so I'm just going to get rid of those completely. This tremolo has been modified in that it has been screwed down because it broke shortly after my sister first played this. So I think my father drilled these holes and screwed it down. So it's not a tremolo anymore, it's just a regular bridge. I considered replacing it, but it seems to be pretty good quality actually. It's a simple one, but it's decent enough. So I'm going to add the humbucker in the bridge position. I have to cut this out a bit more because it's a wider pickup, and I'm also going to try to add some shielding to the cavity that holds the electronics, which usually helps prevent hum. That's the plan for today. I hope you enjoy this kind of video. I've been wanting to do this anyway, and I thought, why not make a video? Might be interesting for someone. Let me take a couple of seconds to thank the sponsor for this video, PCBWay, my favorite manufacturer of prototype PCBs of all kinds. They also have 3D printing and CNC machining services. The quality of all those is excellent. Delivery is fast and they are friendly people to work with. The pricing is very reasonable. They also currently have a PCB design contest going where you can win some awesome prizes. So check out the link in the video description. So the very first step is going to be getting the strings off, and I think I just want to cut these because it's the fastest way. And they're not from the 90s, but they are, I think, at least 10 years old at this point. I haven't used this guitar in ages. Just going to cut them and remove them. I'm going to have to remove the whole pickguard to be able to work on the electronics. I also modded this logo, the Samick logo, to have it say sick. Yeah, that's just my kind of humor. You probably know my lips monitor. I've been doing that stuff for a long time, as witnessed by this guitar. So I got the strings out. It was a bit of a challenge on this end, because they were kind of rusted in place, I think. I'm going to take the pickguard off. There's many screws surrounding that. I'm going to remove all of those and take a look inside. These are just wood screws, so you want to be careful to not rip the wood too much. So now this whole thing should come off. Yep, which it does. Yeah, this is basically all the electronics with some nice potentiometers that are a bit scratchy, so they are going to be cleaned a bit. And you can see there's very little shielding in here. That's all the shielding that's in here. It's aluminum sheet here, or tape, that's stuck on here. What I want to do is to shield all these cavities with some copper tape, and also the whole size of this pickguard is going to be shielded from the back side. We probably get rid of some of the hum, especially on single coil pickups like the ones that are provided here. The hum can be pretty annoying. So yeah, what I'm going to do is to take pictures of where each wire went and then disassemble the whole thing, I guess. This is a ground wire that goes to the tremolo and the bridge. That's pretty neat, actually. So I'm probably just going to desolder that. And as you can see, maybe, the grounds are all connected to these cans from the potentiometers as well. That's a nice feature. So I am going to desolder the wires that come from the rest of the guitar. So this allegedly ground wire. There we go. And these wires going to the connector, the jack. One of these is ground, that's this one. It's actually a shielded cable, which is a nice touch. That was soldered to the can on this potentiometer, and the other one is soldered to the center terminal. So I'm going to desolder those, and I'm going to have to put those back later. And the other cable is just ground connection that's soldered to the can as well. All these ground connections, they are all connected together, which is kind of nice. So everything, every metal part is grounded, so it acts as shielding. Center wire here. That's our output. Yeah, and now we are free. So we have to remove all this hardware from here so we can work on this. And I'm going to put this aside. This needs a good cleaning anyway. I'm going to label these pickups. This is the bridge, mid, neck. And I'm also marking the direction. I'm going to remove all of them just to make sure I get them in the correct positions again. This is our volume potentiometer, this is tone, and this is also tone. tone 1, tone 2. This is facing this way. So these tone and volume knobs just pull off with some persuasion. So I'm just going the usual route and taking a flathead screwdriver. There we go. Ah, and it's filthy underneath, obviously, because this is now 30 years old. Retro tech. And you want to be careful. These are all plastic, usually, on these cheap guitars, and they easily break. But they are also, replacements are super easy to find, so no big deal if they break. So these are screwed in with some nuts. And this is just 2 screws for the switch. And there we go, that's our electronics freed. I'm going to give this a quick wipe and remove this tape here, because I never really liked that. Ugh. It's the nasty kind. Yeah, maybe we need some lighter fluid for that. Yeah, I'm going to remove the glue residue here. And then we're going to make some plans for cutting this out to fit a humbucker. Nowadays there's also smaller form factor humbucker pickups available that fit these cutouts for single coil pickups. Basically what a humbucker is 2 single coils wired in a way so that they cancel out the noise. So humbuckers are less noisy and usually sound a lot fatter. Commonly used in like heavy metal, punk rock, things like that. I like the humbucker sound a lot for what I use this guitar for. And as I said, the original pickups are not very good single coils. So you could, of course, put other single coil pickups in there as well to make this kind of a decent guitar. But it's cheap enough that it's not really worth it to worry too much about that. So here's my humbucker. And yeah, this is basically, as I said, 2 single coils. And this should ideally go here. Completely parallel to the others. This should be kind of close to the bridge and parallel to this, and also centered. I'm going to mark like that. So I'm going to cut this. I think I'm going to use a Dremel, and then I'm going to file it to exactly fit this pickup, which came from a Squier Mustang, which is my main guitar. Those are really cheap and they're not very well made, but you can mod them in ways that make them actually quite nice guitars. So yeah, I really like my Squier Mustang. So this has to be cut out so that fits. And it should be, we are left with some extra screw holes here, but it is kind of a punk rock guitar, so I'm not too worried about the looks of that. Okay, let's do this. You don't want to go too fast with plastic, because otherwise the plastic is going to melt. I'm going to use a file for the rest. All the straight cuts, and I cut like 1 millimeter away from where I marked. So I have a bit of room to make this fit completely. And now it's a matter of filing the curved shapes and things like that out. Couple of nice key files here to accomplish that, hopefully some kind of reasonable way. So yeah, bit of patience. So this fits in here now, and it should be enough to mount this. And it is parallel with the other pickups, which is important because the magnets have to be located directly under the strings, ideally. So I think we're going to accomplish that. Yeah, looking quite good, I think. Yep, that should work pretty well. So now that I got my hole cut out here, I'm going to add some additional shielding from the backside, and I'm going to use this copper adhesive tape that I'm just going to put all over this and then cut out all the holes and cutouts that I need to cut out. I know this is kind of a controversial topic, at least on YouTube. Let me say this. It is not strictly necessary to shield your guitar from the inside, but it's definitely reducing the hum that the guitar is going to pick up from the surroundings, which is especially noticeable on standard single coil pickups, not so much on humbuckers, but definitely helps. It's not going to deteriorate the sound in any way because the pickups stick out these holes anyway and out of the shielding. It just helps picking up less noise from the surroundings. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do all the little cutouts in the guitar body as well. And the important thing is that you use copper tape that is actually conductive from both sides, so you can just overlap it a bit and have one conductive shield. I've seen people using like aluminum tape, which is fine. Some people also use aluminum foil and just glue that to the parts, which also works as shielding, obviously, because aluminum is conductive just as copper. I picked up this copper tape. It's not very expensive, so just to make that nice. There's also conductive paints available, but your mileage may vary with those, and they are not as easy to apply, I think. So yeah, I went with this. This should be pretty straightforward, really. Just applying a layer of tape on here. And of course, the first thing I want to test is if this really is conductive from both sides. And it's pretty easy to get that on here and smooth it out a bit. Just to make sure that this is conductive from both sides, so the overlapping actually does something. I'm just going to see if we have conductivity from here to here, which we do. Yep, it is definitely conductive from both sides, which is nice. So we can just have this overlap a tiny little bit and put it on every little spot here. Don't have to be too precious about this, because nobody's ever going to see this. Maybe myself if I open this up again. Yeah, I think I'm pretty satisfied with that. This needs to be freed as well. Yeah, this tape sticks very well also to my table here. So I'm just going to have to clean this up a little bit. But I'm doing more tape in a second, so yeah. I think I want to reassemble this thing first and put the electronics back on this. But the very first thing is going to be checking if we have proper shielding. Yep. From ear to ear. Everywhere. Nice. Okay. Shielding of this works. We're going to shield the body of the guitar as well. So we are going to get rid of this, which is our bridge pickup. Just going to cut the ground connection and desolder the hot connection of this one. So this is connected to our switch here. And I'm just going to desolder that. And basically we could now solder on our new pickup. The white wire in this case is the hot wire. And there's also obviously humbuckers that have more connections, so they are splittable to the single pickups, but this one hasn't, so it should just connect like the one that was in here, exactly the same way. I'm just going to solder the ground to the ground. So literally there was just 2 wires to solder on. These usually humbuckers that you can buy aftermarket have more connections, so you can split them and things like that and all kinds of fancy things. Usually they come with a wiring diagram for different use cases. This one just has 2 connections. That's a hot wire and a ground wire that we connected like the original single coil pickup was connected. So should be good to go from an electronics point of view here. And yeah, I think I just want to try to fit everything on our pickguard. So thankfully I labeled everything. I made a little arrow pointing to the neck of the guitar. So should probably be good to go like this. And obviously we have to take care that this fits in the little cutout in the body of the guitar, but I think it should. It has a bigger cutout in this position. So maybe we're going to get lucky. These holes in the pickups are actually threaded, so you can just screw the screws in there. And then adjust the height of the pickup. That's what these springs are for. So they stay in place in a kind of adjustable way. And you can just screw these screws in further in case you want to adjust them a bit. I think I should give these pickups a bit of a wipe as well. Yep. So I'm just going to clean all the potentiometers and this toggle switch that toggles between the pickups. First using some alcohol to clean them roughly, and then I'm going to spray some contact cleaner into these potentiometers and the switch, which have like little holes in them to do that. And this switch is open anyway. So I'm just going to kind of flood this with contact cleaner. And I can see the contacts in there. This is super old school stuff, obviously. I'm using Teslanol T6 Oszillin, which is a very non-corrosive contact cleaner. You want to be careful what you use on potentiometers and things like that, because some of the contact cleaners are corroding the contacts in the potentiometers, which of course you don't want, because basically you are ruining your potentiometers with that stuff. And this stuff is meant to be used on potentiometers and delicate things, so that's pretty good. So I'm spraying some in there, moving these for a bit, and then maybe spray another bit in there. These are going to feel a bit different after that, because this is like liquid. There's also grease for these potentiometers called Fader Loop. That's one of the products that's available. This stuff just makes them easier to move basically, but it's cleaning the contacts in a very nice way. So I still like this and use it all the time, because I don't care too much about how my potentiometers actually move. That should get rid of the little crackle that this had in the volume potentiometer at least. If this was a more valuable guitar, I'd probably go and replace the potentiometers altogether with something better. But these are not bad, they are actually working very well. And a little bit of cleaning should bring them back to how they are supposed to function. So now we can put this stuff back in. And now let's test fit this before we do anything else. Yep, that does fit. You have to be a bit careful with routing the wires in there, because there's only a small channel that can hold these thicker wires, and otherwise they're going to make this harder to insert and it's not lying flat. But yeah, it does fit. Yeah, the next step is going to be cleaning this out with a vacuum cleaner, I think, and then clean the surface as well, and then put my copper tape in there as well. I'm going to cut smaller pieces for this, I guess. So yeah, we're going to see. This is going to be fun. And I make it overlap a bit over the corners so it contacts the other part of the shielding. So I generously put copper tape inside all the cutouts where the electronics go. Let's see if we get a good connection between all those parts. And I also put some copper tape on the surface that's actually going to be contacted by our pickguard, our other side of the shielding, so it forms a uniform shield, hopefully, and some went over where some of the screws go, so it should hopefully make quite a good connection to that. And then again, the pickguard is also connected to this through all the potentiometers, And we should have a nice kind of a semi-Faraday cage around our electronics, which hopefully prevent hum from getting into the circuit. So I think I want to put the pickguard back on and connect these wires back up. I'm connecting this in exactly the way that it was connected. Just this ground wire to ground on this potentiometer, I think. And the hot and ground that goes to the jack to the middle pin on this volume pot, and the ground goes where the other grounds go. So getting a bit difficult to film this. The hot pin goes to this, or comes from this volume potentiometer, and our grounds are going to be connected to the can, the potentiometer can actually. That should be how this supposedly connects. Yeah, I kind of want to make sure if the cases from these are all connected to ground anyway. Yes, they are. And the screws as well. So we won't run into any issues if parts of the pickups connect to our shielding. That's one issue you might run into depending on how your guitar is wired if you're doing a shielding job like this. You may run into issues if you short a hot connection out to ground, but I think we're safe. This is a ground wire that should go to our grounds. Now our tremolo and our bridge should be connected to ground. And this has a hot wire and a signal wire. This is the wire that goes, or the two wires actually, that go to the output jack. Going to add some fresh solder. This goes to the whole ground thing. There we go. This should now all be wired up again. Let's see if we can fit this back together. Okay, there we go. This works! Okay, let's screw it back down. And I think I want to do a function test before I put all these screws back in. You can actually do a function test without any strings on, by just hitting the pickups, because they are going to output a crackle sound. Let's see. Yep, seems to work. Okay. Actually, we don't want to clean this whole thing too much, because I kind of like the worn look on it. I'm going to have to put new strings on here, obviously, if I want to use this as a guitar. Let's see if our grounds are connected. I'm just putting the multimeter probe on one of the screws, and both the bridge and this metal part around the output jack are connected. So, time to put some strings on this, and I'm using Ernie Ball Regular Slinky. I have a joystick cable caught in the guitar. The pains of a retro computer YouTuber. So it's all restringed and tuned a couple of times. I have to do some more setup, like making sure this stays in tune and is perfectly in tune in all the frets. I adjusted the pickups, the height of the pickups, kind of in a appropriate way, but there's going to be some more tinkering to set this up. And actually, our humbucker works. This is the humbucker. And it sounds pretty good. This is this one, the neck pickup. Both of these. Center. This one and this, they're kind of phasing against each other. But this is our humbucker. And that's going to be the main pickup I'm going to use. It works! Okay, it does work, and it doesn't look half bad. Still quite a punky guitar, which I like. Yeah, I guess that's it for today. I modded my guitar with a humbucker and made it a fat Strat, kind of. It's not a bad guitar, as I said. It's not the best one either, but I'm going to enjoy playing it even more like this with the modifications. The noise floor actually is super low with the shielding in, so that definitely helps. I'm not sure, it depends on where you play and how the environment is where you play, but it usually helps a fair bit against the hum you get, the mains hum, like 50 Hz or 60 Hz hum. This humbucker sounds pretty fat actually, which I was after, and I like it a lot. So that turned out well. Hope to see you again on this channel sometime. I usually do other things, mostly retro computing and sometimes audio gear, like the hi-fi variant of that. Let me know if you want to see more musical instrument stuff, mostly guitars and basses in my case, because I don't have any other or many other musical instruments, but I enjoy these. Stay tuned for more. Hope to see you again on this channel. Thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon or on the channel memberships page here on YouTube or on Ko-fi or elsewhere. There's links in the video description in case you want to give me some support and help me buy more humbuckers or a new guitar. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Jan Beta. See you next time. Bye.